very involved in my community, so I have had the opportunity to experience being an African American in different realms, in different areas. So I went to for elementary school, I went to Caring and Sharing Learning School, which is a predominantly black school. Then I attended Kanapa Hall, where it's diverse. And then I'm here at PK, where it's diverse as well. And so I got to realize that a lot of opportunities that are afforded to my counterparts are less given to people like me, people of color. And so I asked myself, why is this the case? And this presentation today will kind of answer that question. So we have to ask ourselves, what is institutionalized racism? Institutionalized racism is a system or organization that their rules are built off of the biases and discrimination of people. And then that can be for a group of people or anybody. So this occurs in institutionalized racism occurs in many different systems. And today I'll talk about three. And the healthcare system. African American women are 3 times more likely to die while giving childbirth than their counterparts. This is because of the biases that are built within the system of the healthcare. It is a notion that black women are more tolerant to pain. So what happens is they don't receive the right dosages needed while having this pregnancies, and some succumb to the pain and they pass away. And then we also have an example of Miss Henrietta Lacks. Henrietta Lacks was a black woman who was a nurse, and she had cancer. So when she went to go to the hospital to get treated for the cancer, they ran tests on her, and they realized that she had a healing cell. And in that healing cell, they took her cell and they put it into vaccines, and they're still used to this day, and people don't realize that. And she didn't even know that they took her cells and put it into a vaccine, and they ran tests on her without her knowledge. And basically what they did was they took advantage of the disadvantage. Next we have the education system. So your school is funded by the taxes that are paid within that community. And we have examples of redlining where we see, if we go into the black communities, it's lesser. You can easily buy a house in the black community than you can in an urban community. And what happens is the poverty rate is higher than it is for African Americans than their counterparts. And so they have to fund the school. And so what happens is they have less resources, higher teacher turnover rates, which leads to higher education not being a factor for African Americans. The criminal justice system. I'm a black male with dreads, with locks, and I could easily be walking down the street with black on, and I could look suspicious just because of my appearance, and I have to live with that. And I've realized that this is called racial profiling. African Americans are 2 times more likely to be arrested and 3 times more likely to be in prison more than white Americans from racial profiling. Also, African Americans, they receive longer sentences than what a counterpart would receive, average of 20% longer sentences. Also, we have instances where public defenders, we are given public defenders, but sometimes the public defenders are not representing us well. And what happens is we fall into having to rely on the public defenders, and sometimes they don't do a good job. My main argument today is institutionalized racism has significantly impacted African Americans in the U.S. through healthcare, education, wealth, and the criminal justice system, limiting opportunities for social and economic mobility. My subject matter expert was Dr. David Canton. Dr. David Canton is the director of the African American Studies program and an associate professor of history at the University of Florida with a background in history and Black studies from Morehouse College, Ohio State University, and Temple University. And basically, when I had a conversation with him, my main question was, can you define institutionalized racism and how it differs from individual racism? He gave me the example of Dylan Roof. Dylan Roof was a white male who went into a predominantly Black church and shot up that church. That was a form of individual racism. He was an individual who committed a heinous crime because of the color of someone's skin. And then we have institutions like education, redlining, and healthcare that he gave me an example of. The counterclaim is individual racism rather than institutional racism is the primary driver of these disparities. Addressing individual biases and prejudices is the most effective way to address these issues. My key findings for this presentation is African Americans have faced significant disparities due to these institutions having their biases built within the system. This is my infographic, which basically is data that reiterates the death rates for Black women while giving birth. In conclusion, institutionalized racism has created and it limits opportunities for African Americans. And in future research, I want to create ways and initiatives that can bridge the gap, because we can't end it all, because if we go back to the history of racism, we realize it was when we came here on ships, and it's deeply rooted within the founding of this country. But there are ways that we can move forward to tear down that house and rebuild if we can create initiatives. These are my sources, and I want to thank you.